Okay, so good morning. Today's daf is Nedarim daf Pei as we continue in the last perek of Masechet Nedarim. I really have just so enjoyed, and I hope that you have enjoyed as well, learning Masechet Nedarim with the Ran. I will note that I understand from the learning that I've done that tomorrow's daf has one of the most important Rans in all of maybe even the most famous one, apparently, although I can't tell you what it is at the moment, in the entire Masechet. But the Ran has just been a wonderful partner with us as we've gone through our learning together. So let me open up 1 second.
Teasers.
What was that?
That was a teaser.
That's a teaser. That's exactly right. I try to end with a teaser, but today I'm so excited I began with the teaser. So, all right, hold on for a second. I'm opening up the screen, and here we go. Now we're going to share screen, and you will have on the background the daf, the outline of the Q&A of the daf in English. So let's go through it. So in our Mishnah that we learned yesterday, we had the following cryptic statements as examples of a wife making a self-afflicting neder. She said, if I bathe or if I do not bathe, if I put on makeup, if I do not put on makeup. And as we pick up at the 2 dots, 6 lines from the bottom of Ayin Tedem Abet, 79b, the Gemara is going to wonder what in the world do these statements mean? So im erchat, so that's the quote from the Mishnah, and we say, hey Kikamar, what in the world is she saying? And so we're going to give 3 efforts. The first 2 are going to be rejected, and the third one will be confirmed. So ilema de amra konam peris olam alai im erchatz. So if in fact she's saying, you know what? If I bathe, then I am not going to enjoy any of the produce of the world. That it's all going to be prohibited to me. Well, lama la hafara. Why would she need hafara? Lo terchatz, lo litasran peros olamala. She could just not bathe, and then the neder will never take effect because the neder is conditioned on her bathing, right? If I bathe, then everything is going to be prohibited to me. So v'od, and moreover, v'ha lema Rabbi Yossi ein elu nidre inui nefesh. Also, Rabbi Yossi, as a reminder, in our Mishnah, Rabbi Yossi said, whatever it is regarding bathing, whatever it is regarding makeup, those aren't considered inui nefesh. But what is inui nefesh? If I prohibit all produce for me, if I prohibit all produce to me, so that would be considered inui nefesh, because essentially there's no way around that. The husband needs to feed his wife. His wife has now said everything is prohibited to her. So what's he supposed to do? So as a result, it makes sense that he would be able to prevent that kind of vow. So as a result, why would Rabbi Yossi say that if that was the meaning of im erchatz, that if I'm going to bathe, I will prohibit all the world's produce? Well, then that's also should be a neder, the neder component of it, which is I will not eat any, I will not benefit from any produce of the world. That in and of itself is precisely the example of a neder of self-affliction, according to Rabbi Yossi. So, and the reason that we are going to be concerned is Dilma Ratza Itasru Peros Olamala, because maybe she does bathe and then she ends up having all the produce of the world being forbidden to her. And that's exactly what Rabbi Yossi says is an inui nefesh kind of thing, a self-afflicting kind of neder. So that can't be what we're talking about. So now we go to example number 2. So so as a result, as we turn to the top of Pei Amud Aleph, we have a second possibility. To amra konam hanas rechitza alai leolam im erchatz. That what she's really saying is, if in fact I were to ever bathe, well, then that will be effectively the last bath I ever take, because I will never benefit from bathing again. So I know, isn't that kind of silly? All right. So, but that's what she says. That's what we think she may have said. Okay. So, well, if that's in fact Mishum Hachi Mayfairla, and so as a result, that's what the Tanakama is saying that he can revoke, that the husband can revoke, that Tehechi Tavid, because in fact, what is she supposed to do? As Mark is suggesting by saying that doesn't make any sense, because Tirchas, if she bathes, well then Matasra Hanas Rechitzala, then all future bathing is going to be prohibited to her. Lo Tirchas, if she doesn't bathe, well then Isla Nevula, she'll become disgusting. Meaning, no matter what, she only has one more bath in her future. So as a result, the Rebbe Yossi Savar, and so that's why that's our initial proposal, and that is why the husband has the right to annul the vow, to revoke the vow. Excuse me, the right to revoke the vow. The Rebbe Yossi Savar, and Rebbe Yossi says after Delo Rachsa, listen, she doesn't need to bathe. It's okay. Vilanivo lo chayshinan, and just her being dirty and disgusting, that is not going to be enough of a reason for inui nefesh. That is not going to be enough of a problem. But the Gemara says, nah, I don't think that that's true, because ihachi, if that's true, that this kind of permanent abstention from bathing is the case, litnei hachi. The Mishnah didn't need to talk about it this way. Rabbi Yossi Amar Tanaiza Ein Bo Inui Nefesh. Really, if according to Rabbi Yossi, a condition like this is sufficient to be self-affliction, because he should say that this condition is not self-affliction, because if in fact the point is that he has a greater statement that could be made. Because what did he say in our Mishnah? He said in our Mishnah that the neder that is being made here is not one of self-affliction. But what's powerful about saying that if I bathe once, I will never bathe again, is that the condition of if I bathe once at any point in the future, that condition in and of itself creates a tremendous has tremendous power, has tremendous effect on her behavior. And let's take a look at the Ran third line of the widest lines of the Ran at the bottom of the page. Ihachi lisnei hachi Rabbi Yossi Amar Tanaize ein bo mishum inui nefesh. That if in fact this were the condition, then Rabbi Yossi should focus on the condition associated with the neder, not the neder itself. Perish Rav Rabbeinu Yonah, that Rabbeinu Yonah explains the following. Dahashta detana ein elu nidre inui. Now that Rabbi Yossi, what did Rabbi Yossi say? He said that these nedarim are not, these vows are not nedarim of inui nefesh. These vows are not vows of self-affliction. So mashma de mishum she'ein haneder inui nefesh lo yafer. That what is the reason that he can't, that the husband doesn't have the right to revoke it? The reason that the husband doesn't have the right to revoke is because of the content of the neder. But listen to the following possibility about inadra midi to ispe inui nefesh. But the implication is that if in fact the content of the neder was a self-afflicting neder, namely like the one that we just saw where the woman says, if I bathe, then I will never eat produce. Yafer, then he should be able to annul it. But velesa, but it's not really true. Dekevan de bitana leka inui nefesh, because the refusal to bathe doesn't have any self-affliction according to Rabbi Yossi. Afilu nadra bepeirot olam lo yafer. If in fact the woman, the wife had made the following vow. She said, you know what? If I bathe, I will never enjoy produce. Right. Well, according to Rabbi Yossi, the neder component of I will never eat produce, that is inui nefesh. Everybody agrees. I mean, he agrees that that's inui nefesh. But because of the condition associated with it, So the condition is that she not bathe. Well, he holds, Rabbi Yossi that is, holds that not bathing is not inui nefesh. And so as a result, that neder should be able, she should not be able to undo, the husband should not be able to revoke that neder because all she has to do to never be have that neder apply is not bathe. And not bathing is not considered inui nefesh.
Was the opposite way around, though.
Say more. That it's worse to not bathe
Not bathe.
than not eating produce. Well, again, I think although separately we say that actually if you make a neder that is not capable of being fulfilled, that in fact that neder it becomes nullified and you're chayav a korban. But what we're talking about when we say produce, we don't just mean, we don't mean just vegetables and fruit. We mean essentially anything.
That's a whole other
and that's what we're talking about. When we say that any kind of things that grow from the ground or animals, etc., anything exactly would be covered by that. So the point is that, and that's the extreme position that Rabbi Yossi holds, is that it's only that kind of thing. Ukeda amrina bereish sugyan lama la hafara lo tirchatz. Again, why should there be hafara? Let her not wash. Below litzeru peros olam Allah, and the produce of the world will never be prohibited to her. So the point is that the question that's being asked here, as the Ran explains with the benefit of Rabbeinu Yonah, is that in fact we're talking about a situation, that the problem is in the condition, not the content of the neder. And so as a result, it should be that Rabbi Yossi says that the condition is not self-affliction. And so as a result, there's no opportunity for the husband to revoke. So as a result, now we come up with the third and the final possibility, and now and that will be the basis that we'll move forward. So the third possibility is the following: Ella to amra hanas rechitza alayla olam im erchatz hayom. So the condition is only for today, but the result is forever. So if I bathe today, then I will be forbidden for bathing forever from this point on. That's the vow that the woman makes, and so as a result, according to the Tanakama, that is going to be problematic, even though essentially all she has to do is avoid bathing today in order to avoid the neder completely. But it is, but not bathing even on one day is considered on some level inui nefesh, an afflicting of herself. So as a result, that's why the husband can revoke that. The Rabbi Yossi Savar nibble dechad yoma lo shma nibble. Being disgusting for one day, that is not considered being disgusting, and the content of the vow itself is also not going to be disgusting. And so as a result, even the eventual vow would also be not problematic. So as a result, therefore, we've now explained the whole situation. So shanis im erchas. All right. So we've answered the question of im erchas, meaning that what does it mean if I wash? It means that if I wash, it will be, if I wash today, so then I won't wash in the future. But, what about im lo erchatz hechidami? What is the meaning then of the if I don't bathe? So again, we're going to do three possibilities. So possibility number one, ilema, if you want to say the amra titzar. So again, so shan is im erchatz, im lo erchatz hechidami. So what's the situation as we're turning to the payam and bet? Ilema de amra titzar hanas rechitzu laolam alai im lo erchatz hayom. If you want to say that what she's saying is that I'm not going to be bathed. If I don't bathe today, then I will never bathe in the future. Well, lama la hafara titzche, have her bathe today, and the neder won't take effect, and there's no reason for her to to have the a problem according to anybody. So Rav Yehuda. So Rav Yehuda says, "De Amra Hanas Rechitza Alayla Olam Im Lo Erchatz B'mei Mishra." So it's not that I'm saying that if I don't bathe is the condition. So it's not if I don't bathe, period. It's if I don't bathe in May Mishra, in this water of Mishra. And the Ran helps us out here in the second line, at the end of the second line of the Ran on Peyam Abed, Im Lo Erchatz B'mei Mishra. Mayim Shishorim Behen Pishtan. This is water in which flax has been soaked. Shehein Suruchin. It's very, it smells terrible. Biyoter, really horrible. Dehechi Ta'avid. And then what is she supposed to do? Terchatz B'mei Mishra. Iku Inoi. If she's supposed to wash in that water, well, then there will be affliction. And low terchatz. And if she doesn't wash in the water, Mitzara. Hanas Rechitzala, then she'll end up becoming prohibited forever bathing. So there's again, the oath is if I don't bathe in this disgusting water today, well, then I will never bathe again. So that's what she says. And again, the suggestion is that that's what we're talking about. Well, all right. Well, 1 second. If that's what we're talking about with respect to bathing, that when we say if I bathe, if I do not bathe, it means if I do not bathe in disgusting water today, I will not bathe ever. Well, then what's the meaning of if I do not put on makeup? So it must be if I do not put on makeup, that's terrible, right? If that's awful and disgusting. So to kavasi to katani imlo es kashet. But well, then if the point is that according the corresponding situation of I'm not going to put on makeup, imlo es kashet benef. It must be that I'm talking about putting on makeup with something disgusting like this naif, which is again something smelly and dirty. Lichluchu, but that's not called putting on makeup. Nobody would call putting trash on yourself putting on makeup. And so as a result, right, Lori, if you put on trash, that's not makeup. That's disgusting. So lichluchu, it's getting dirty. That's not, you can't use, of course, you people do a mud facial, but we're not talking about that. When they have the mud on them, nobody says that is makeup. So exactly. So
$80 a pound.
and it may be, but in any event, the point is that this cannot be because we don't have a parallel situation. So Amar Rav Yehuda. So Rav Yehuda offers a third possibility. To Amra Hanas Rechitz La'olam Alai Im Erchatz Hayom. So the first case is if I will forever if I wash today. So Ushvua Shalo Erchatz. And the second of Imlo Erchatz is not that it's a condition, but rather it's an oath that I'm not going to bathe. So similarly, Hanas Kishut Alai La'olam Im Eskashet Hayom. So similarly, if I put on makeup today, I will not put on makeup forever. And Ushvua Shalo Et Kashet, or it's a shvua that I'm not going to put on makeup. Well, Amrle Ravina Ravashi. So Ravina asks Ravashi, I don't understand. Ha elu Nedarim ushvuos mi ba'alei lemisni. Why didn't our Mishnah say that these are what are the Nedarim and shvuot? Given the fact that we're treating imlo erchatz and imlo et kashet as shvuot, we should not be saying that these are Nedarim. We should be saying that these are shvuot. So that's how we should have begun our Mishnah. So Amar Lei, so Rav Ashi said to him, Tanei elu Nedarim ushvuos. So you should read that it says, don't read the Mishnah as just saying Nedarim. Yes, that's what it says, but we can read it in an expansive form and understand it as saying, no, what it's really saying is it should read elu Nedarim ushvuos. These are the Nedarim or the shvuos. Or alternatively, you know what? Alternatively, you could also say shavuos nami hainu nedarim. That when the word nedarim is an expansive word, and it also includes the word shavuos, because we have a Mishnah. This is a Mishnah that we learned early on in our Masechet, and it was talking about yadot. where you use sort of a shorthand kind of language to indicate that you're making an oath. And we said, if somebody says, Kinidre Rishoyim Nadar, that I am making a neder like the neder of wicked people. That, remember, we said if you say the righteous people, well, righteous people don't make nedarim, so that wouldn't be a shorthand. But if you say I'm making a neder like the neder of wicked people, then whether you're talking about bin nazir, whether you're talking about nazirut, uba korban, or you're talking about bringing a korban, uba shvua, or you're talking about a shvua, and I think I just read that wrong. Kinidre rishayim. Yeah, no, I got it right. Okay, so that in all of those cases, doesn't make a difference whether you're trying to make a neder, a nazir, a korban, or a shvua. You have successfully done so. So we can see from the fact that we say kinidre rishayim, if he says kinidre rishayim, that language can cover even a shvua. So as a result, you don't actually, our Mishnah did not need to actually use the language of shvua, even if it was referring to two different shvuot, a shvua of I'm not going to bathe and a shvua of I'm not going to put on makeup. Okay, so that finishes our discussion, and we've now understood the language, the confusing language of our Mishnah, that when we said if I bathe, it means if I bathe today, I will not bathe ever again. And if I put on makeup, I will not put on makeup ever again. And when it comes to if I don't bathe, it means a shvua that I'm not going to bathe. And if it comes to if I don't put on makeup, it means a shvua that I won't put on makeup. So those are the understandings that we come out with. All right. So now we're going to look and identify first an inconsistency with the rabbinic position, with the Tanakama position, and then we'll find an inconsistency with the Rebbe Yossi position. And we will resolve each of those inconsistencies, and that will be the finishing of our daf today. So, Amru Rabbanan Rechitza Ispa Inui Nefesh Kilo Rachza. So, 1 second, the rabbis are saying that if in fact that when it comes to bathing, that is a topic of Inui Nefesh if she doesn't bathe, right? So failing to bathe is considered Inui Nefesh, and bathing is an undoing of Inui Nefesh. Uraminhu. But we've got a problem, because we've got a contradiction, because we have a brisa that says the following. This brisa is about Yom Kippur. Afal Pisha Asur B'Kulan. Even though all of these things are prohibited on Yom Kippur. And what are we talking about? We're talking about eating and drinking. So that's number one. Bathing, that's number two. And that's the one that's key to us, right? These are the things that you can't do on Yom Kippur. Can't take a bath on Yom Kippur. Can't take a shower on Yom Kippur. Anointing, putting oil on yourself, wearing shoes, and marital relations. So those are the 5 items that are prohibited on Yom Kippur. So even though all 5 of them are prohibited on Yom Kippur, ain anush kares ela ba'ochel v'shoseh v'oseh malacha bilbad. The only things that you get kares for on Yom Kippur are one of those 5 situations of inui. Again, those 5 situations of inui: not eating and drinking, not bathing, not anointing, not wearing shoes, and not having marital relations. So those 5, only one of them is going to be prohibited, and with the punishment of kares, and that is eating and drinking. And v'oseh malacha bilvad, and of course, doing work on on Yom Kippur is also going to be punished with kares. So those are the 2 things that are. Well, 1 second. V'i amra kilo rachza ika inui. But if you say that real inui, Torah-based inui, it occurs when one does not take a bath, well, then when you do take a bath on Yom Kippur and you are failing to do inui, because on Yom Kippur there's a requirement to do inui, why shouldn't the person be chayav kares for taking a bath on Yom Kippur? So that's the question. So Amar Rava explains, Mi'inyana dikra, actually, if you understand the pasuk correctly, will be okay. Because Gabi Yom Kippurim diksiv, Ta'anu es nafsho sechem. You shall afflict. The afflicting is happening at the moment that you're doing the action. So milsa diyada inuya hashta. You have to be able to know that at the moment that you're doing the thing, you are afflicting yourself. So rechitza lo yada inuya hashta. But you can't tell that somebody is afflicting themselves by failing to bathe at this moment. That at this moment you can't tell that. And so we have actually an interesting two kinds of positions. One from the Mefarish, who's listed as Rashi on our daf, who says Rechitza lo yed'iya inuya. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines up in the inner column where it says Rashi at the top, from in the narrow lines of Rashi. So it says Delav koyama ragil lemirchatz. Every day doesn't get a bath. Now, that was especially true in those days. So for some people, it may be true in these days, especially the people who have the attitude of never bathing. But v'hashda nami kilo rachitz lo having nikar ha'inui. At the moment, it isn't recognizable, the inui. And so as a result, because you don't do it every day, that's why, according to the Mefarish, it's not recognizable. The Ran offers a slightly different explanation. If we look up 4 lines up in the narrow lines in the Ran on the outer side of the page. So milsa diyadia inuya hashta dahainu achila de beosa yom minkar inuya. When it comes to eating, that day you can already tell that there is some affliction. Meaning, by the end of the day, you're hungry, and you know that you are afflicted. V'rachmana lo kapid b'yom kippurim, and the Torah did not it was not makbid, was not limiting our ability on Yom Kippur, ela be'inui deminkar bahu yoma, only in something that you would recognize on that day. So it's not about so for the Mefarish, it's about, do you do this every day? But for the Ran, it's by the end of the day, do you recognize it? So when it comes to eating, if you go through the end of the day, right, Lori, and you haven't eaten, you're going to feel hungry, right? You're going to feel terrible. Your blood sugar level is going to be low. So you need to eat something, right? Exactly. So the point is that on the other hand, when it comes to bathing, if at the end of the day you didn't take a bath, so all right, so that's fine. There's always tomorrow, right? There's always tomorrow. All right. So that is the explanation. And all right. And so Gabi Nedarim. However, when it comes to Nedarim, as we pick back up in the Gemara, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 lines up. So but Gabi Nedarim, when it comes to Nedarim, it doesn't have a current, a now kind of component. Diksiv kol neder v'kol shuas iser le'anos nafesh. The point is that it's to afflict. The la'anos nafesh is to do an affliction. So the point is that even if the action now doesn't result in us realizing that we've been afflicted until later, that is still going to be an affliction when it comes to a neder. So milsa da'asyale lidei inui, something that will come to an affliction. V'chilo ratza asyale inui, and in fact, failing to wash will eventually result in your feeling afflicted. And so, as a result, when it comes to nedarim, failing to bathe is definitely considered something that will lead to affliction. But when it comes to Yom Kippur, you don't feel the affliction immediately, and so as a result, that is not going to be the thing that is punishable by kares on Yom Kippur. Okay, so that was our attempt to try and find an inconsistency in the rabbis. Now we try to find an inconsistency in Rebbe Yossi. So the Rebbe Yossi. One second, we can find what appears to be an inconsistency in Rebbe Yossi. Okay, so now we need a little bit of background on this case, and that is you have a river that flows from city number 1 down to city number 2, and the question is, how much of the water rights does city number 1 have to the detriment of city number 2? So let's take a look. So ma'ayan shel b'nei ha'ir, that you have a spring that begins in city number 1. Chayehen v'chayei acherim, and then it goes to another city, and the other city is the Acherim in this brisa. So if the question is, we need enough water for the life and living needs of the sustainment of life in city number one, so then so the lives of the people in the city where the spring is located, they come first. That they get to, the other people are going to have to move if there's going to be a real problem in terms of being able to live. What happens if there's enough for both cities to live, but now there's only enough for the city of the origin to feed their animals, but not enough for the animals of the second city? What about in that situation? So naturally, their animals come first. So if it's the same, again, if it's a parallel situation, it's clear that the city with the spring, with the origin, they take precedence. What about laundry needs? You need water for laundry. So as a result, their own laundering and the laundering of the other city, again, kvisasan kodemes lekvisas acherim. Again, when the needs are parallel, it's easy. Your city comes first if you are the origin of the water. Okay, but what happens if the competition is the following? All right, so then kvisasan kodemes lekvisas acherim. Your laundry comes first. Chaye acherim ukvisasan. What about if it's the life of the others, but your laundry, right? So Stan here is waving. It's got to be the others, right? So chaye acherim kodmen lekvisasan. That's the Tanakama's position, right? That the lives of others take precedence. But what do you think? What do you think Rabbi Yossi would say? I would say, right, that of course for Rabbi Yossi doesn't think bathing is so. And yet, what does Rabbi Yossi say here? Rabbi Yossi Omer Kvisasan Kodemes L'Chaye Acherim. That their laundry, the laundry of this place with the spring, they get precedence for their own laundry over the lives of the people in the other city. So the other people in the other city, they're going to have to move or find other sources of water, but they are not going to, even if they don't have enough water from other sources, tough luck. This city gets to do its laundry before the other city gets to even have enough water to live. So Hashda Kavisa Amar Rabbi Yossi Yesh Batzar. Well, clearly Rabbi Yossi is saying that there's a lot of pain. What must be the reason, right? So before we go to the question, what must be the reason of Rabbi Yossi? Rabbi Yossi must say that clearly doing laundry is very, very important. That it is a real, that if failure to do laundry is on some level life-threatening. That's why he's going to say, look, even laundry, it's life-threatening. I'm going to say city number one gets the rights. So here he's saying, right, Hashda Kavisa Amar Rabbi Yossi Yesh Batzar, that if failure to do laundry will create a lot of pain, Guf Kulo Lo Kol Shekain. If you can't wash your clothing, and that's causing pain, of course washing yourself is going to cause a lot of pain. So that's the question. So there seems to be a decent inconsistency in Rabbi Yossi. But Amrei Ein, the response was, no, the two laws, as we've said them, are correct. Kavisa Alima le Rabbi Yossi, that doing laundry is more important to Rabbi Yossi than washing yourself. To Amar Shmuel, because we have the following statement of Shmuel. So hi, our buvisa dereisha masya l'dei avira. So it's telling us the different things that being dirty and disgusting can cause. So if you've got a dirty and disgusting head, meaning you especially your hair, you don't comb it, you don't wash it, well then masya l'dei avira. That is going to lead to blindness. It's not the Rush cites here that a Gemara in Baba Basra that and that's also a nida, that in fact, if two hairs grow out of the same core, then somehow that will cause blindness. I'm not going to be able to explain that, but that was the thought that they had. The bottom line is that a dirty head, one can understand that that's going to be bad, but that's not what we need, right? The question is bathing one's entire body is the issue. So our buvisa demani masya lidei sha'amume misa, and that when it comes to dirty clothing, that leads to sha'amumisa, which is understood as dementia. So the point is that dirty clothing leads to dementia. So that is a permanent condition. But our bruvisa degufa masila de shichne v'cheve, that when it comes to dirty body, that leads to boils and to sores. So the Ran helps us out here. If we take a look at the Ran, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down in the narrow lines of the Ran, arbuvisa de gufa, when it comes to the dirtiness of one's body, kishagufa mizuham, when a body is dirty, she'eno rochetz tami, because you don't regularly bathe, mivio lidei shichna v'chive, it comes to boils and sores. But avabaus hamachivos, and that are cause pain. Ula elu, but for those things, yesh refuos, there are ways to treat it. Abal sha'amum, but when it comes to dementia, kasha, that's more difficult. That's more harsh. Kasha mehen, that is more harsh than them, and that's why alma kasi kavisa alima mirachitza. And so we see that when it comes to doing laundry is more important, according to Rabbi Yossi, than washing one's body. And so as a result, while it is true that Rabbi Yossi says that a city that has a spring can prioritize its own laundry over the lives of others, he does not say that one can prioritize one's bathing over anybody else, that bathing is less important than laundry. And so as a result, bathing is not considered inui nefesh to him, even as it seems like laundry would be. So, all right. So now that we've dealt with that, so now I will just give us again, I mentioned that one of the most important Rans or most famous Rans of the Masechet is on the next daf. But I will also note that there's the interesting topic that once we're talking about lack of cleanliness, we're going to talk about Talmidei Chachamim, and then that we're going to ask the question, why is it that often Torah scholars do not have children who are Torah scholars? So again, why is it uncommon for Torah scholars to have sons who are Torah scholars? So that question we'll tee it up for tomorrow, and God willing, there'll be 5 answers. So stay tuned for that. I know it's Shabbos tomorrow, and so the daf tomorrow should be approximately 45 minutes after Havdalah time, God willing, tomorrow. And so that will be back to Eli. I think Eli Oberstein is around, and he'll probably pick it up there. And I will look forward to seeing everybody on Monday. He will probably Eli will handle as well. On Tuesday, I am away. I will try to have a recording sent out for Tuesday. On Wednesday, I'm away but available and should be able to do the daf long distance, but it will be Zoom only on Wednesday. Thursday, God willing, I will be back, and Friday I will be away and it will be Zoom only. So I'm going to send out a note about each of that because that's a little complicated. I wish Thursday I'll be here, but again, we're meeting on Monday right after davening. Okay, you're going to bring the paperwork. We're going to meet on Monday.
Before you go,
Hold on just a second. Go ahead, Charlie.
yeah, so the last Baraita is relevant to water laws.
Absolutely, 100%. It is a definitely an important ruling in connection with water laws. We will get into water rights, I believe, in the Bubbas, but and certainly somewhere in Maseches Nezikin.
The prior
in Seder.
appropriation water law in the Western United States is inconsistent with the position of the Tanakama.
Is inconsistent with the position of the talk. Say more.
Inconsistent, yeah, because if you basically so this applies to every state in the United. If you look at the column of states from North Dakota south to Texas, all of those states plus every state to the west has the prior appropriation water doctrine, which is that the first person who used the water for a particular purpose has the right to use that water for that purpose forever, and that passes on to his or her heirs.
Wow.
Regardless of purpose and regardless of what the needs of others might be. So you can imagine that creates
awful incentives.
Yeah. Now, in many cases, there have been interstate compacts that have limited that, which is what is a major source of controversy in the Colorado River Basin right now.
Right, exactly, because they've guaranteed the next states a certain amount of water, and it becoming difficult to fulfill that guarantee.
In all of the states to the east, the column from Minnesota, Louisiana to the east, there's no such thing as water rights.
Meaning
that you can use the water, and so can everybody else. And you're expected, when you're done with it, you're supposed to let it go back into the system. Which causes some interesting issues with all of the water that New York City takes from the Delaware River Basin. And that caused some legal issues. But there's no such thing as owning water rights in the East.
There's not, but in this system, in the East Coast system, it's if you're upstream, you have pretty much all the rights.
Yes, but there are not water shortages here, so
right,
it is
the way not as material.
The effect of prior appropriation created a market.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's terrible.
Which on the one hand, it's probably economically more efficient than anybody who can use it who wants to, but on the other hand, it's clearly not consistent with the priorities set down here, at least by the Tanakama and the Braita.
Well, and even agreed to by Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi doesn't disagree with the prioritization of everybody's life before external uses. The question is just how important laundry is. So right. So you're absolutely right that's inconsistent. But that I don't think that surprises us. We have in Judaism some of the nice aspects. I guess some of the a market, non-market positions. Although right. We often have a market economy in Judaism, it's not a perfect market economy. There is a certain aspect of regulation in order to try and preserve livelihood, preserve life.
Regulation and a lot of things that we're used to, such as limited liability, caveat emptor, bankruptcy, is kind of missing from our system.
Well, that is not. I mean, at least bankruptcy, we certainly have that. We'll have more of an opportunity for a conversation on some of those as we go through. But I think you will find many of those things, many of the origins of those concepts in the halakhic system, and indeed the fellow who gives Daf Yomi at the Young Israel, Danny Rapp, often, I think that's his name, often is writing a book on how many U.S. legal and general legal theories can find their origin in halacha. So I think we'll continue this conversation as we go through. Yeah. It will certainly become more relevant as we move into Nezikin and see a lot more of that kind of thing. So
Looking forward.
looking forward. Have a wonderful day. Have a good Shabbos. Moshe, a pleasure to meet you. Looking forward to whenever you're able to join us.
Good to meet you, Moshe.
Okay, same here. And like I said, if I'm not here, I will be watching the recording on YouTube.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much.